I audible? Uh, निशिता मैम आप म्यूट हैं. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm audible. आ रही है आपको? जी जी. हाँ. You are audible, but I'm not mute. Yeah, I'm not mute. So, ma'am, Mishra ma'am was mute. Thank you, Shweta ma'am, for presenting a comprehensive view of the crisis, emerging crisis not only in India as well as globally, and the migrant side, the health crisis which you have addressed are the major concern of our nation, and really the government is trying hard to address these issues. So not talking much about it, ma'am has talked a lot, and we have got enriched about all the academic insights she has given to us. Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am. Now we switch over to our fourth session, which for this session we have invited Professor Virendra Palse, and I am grateful that sir has agreed to join on the digital platform. इस सेशन का जो मेन थीम है यूज ऑफ डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी इन टुडेज वर्ल्ड एंड सर इज गोइंग टू राइट ऑन globalization, new communication technologies, and the rise of network society emerging concern. So sir, over to you. Sir, it's a request from our team and from me also, please stick to 20 minutes. Rather not good for an academician to curtail him or her in a time limit because they have lot to say. So, but we are running out of time. Technology is not giving much time for me. I think into 20 minutes.
Okay, I will try to
Yeah,
complete
sir.
within
Thank you,
20
sir.
minutes. As you have already explained, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, sir. Audible, sir. Audible.
Okay.
Audible.
As it is already told that the theme on which I have to speak is globalization, new communication technologies, and the rise of network society, emerging concerns. So I will begin with the notion of globalization, which in broad sense can be said the widening, deepening and speeding up of the worldwide connectivity in all walks of life. There are three different perspectives on globalization, and these are first is hyper globalizers, second is skeptics, and third is transformationalists. The hyper globalizers are those who says that a new epoch in human history has been started, and they see it as
Excuse me, Virendra sir.
yes.
सर माइक्रोफोन थोड़ा पास करिएगा, आपकी आवाज धीमी आ रही है.
अच्छा,
थोड़ा माइक्रोफोन.
ओके ओके ओके. नाउ
हाँ सर, कुछ पहले से बेहतर है.
फिर मैं ये लगा दूँगा तो दैट वुड बी बेटर. जस्ट ए मिनट. And now, okay, it was because of distance of microphone. So there are three different perspectives on globalization which are very relevant. First is hyper globalizers, and they think that a new epoch in human history has started, and they see it as an end of modernity, and they say nation states will weaken and they will lose most of their power, which will be transferred to the transnational organization as well as downwards to civil society and other organizations. Then they talk of the global liberal market economy, and they say that high economic growth will be will solve the problem. Hello, hello. Somebody has muted me. Hello. Somebody has muted my voice. In fact, uh, now I have unmuted this. Host has muted my voice. Okay. Hmm. And they also say that high economic growth will improve the quality of life of all the members of the society. So this is the one viewpoint. Another is skeptics, and they are mainly neo-Marxists. And these neo-Marxists, they say that there is nothing new in this globalization. Such type of international trades were also existing earlier in the 19th century, in the particularly in the beginning of 19th century, and they call it internationalization, and they reject the uh, very term of globalization. Then third set of thinkers are transformationists, and they are differ from the first two categories of the thinkers. Neither they are hyper globalizers nor they are skeptics, and they are of the view that transformation is taking place in the society, but it is not that it is end of modernity, or the nation states will lose their power, or there will be very high economic growth will resolve all the problems of the society. But they are agreed on one point, that transformation is taking place, and this has a whole range of thinkers, and most of the sociologists uh, now they are transformists, and in this they are of the view that globalization is a central driving force behind the rapid social and political changes which are shaping the contemporary society and the world order. Thus, new communication technologies are at the heart of the globalization. These new communication technologies play an important role in contemporary society, which is passing through the process of globalization. So my presentation is divided into two parts. One is conceptual part, and the other is the what are the changes which are taking place currently at the global level, and particularly in reference to the COVID-19 and its impact on society. Conceptual level, we can see these changes which we call today globalization started in the late 1970s, and they posed challenge to existing theoretical frameworks for understanding the society, and namely industrial society or the modern society. The Daniel Bell was perhaps the first thinker who talks about this type of changes, and his a very famous book was The Coming of the Post-Industrial Society, in which he indicated that industrial society or the modern society is now transforming. And he has written another important book called The End of Ideology, and in that he says that now this capitalist ideology or different kind of ideologies are meaningless in society which is emerging today. And later on, after the end of the Cold War, we see that the socialistic and capitalist ideologies become, there was no much competition within them, and we can say that we are now entered into a period in which no ideology is much relevant. So during this period in 1980s, another development at theoretical level has taken place, and it was the rise of the postmodernism. And they uh, also declared that the project of modernity is over, and a new society, what they call the postmodern society, is emerging. These views of postmodernists were contested by two important sociologists, and both are contemporary. One is Anthony Giddens, other is Habermas. Anthony Giddens says that modernity is not over, but he has argued that now we are entering the late modernity stage. Now this is the late modernity, and later on he talk of high modernity also. Then Habermas says that project of modernity is still unfinished. So it is not over. So I am not going the detail of the views of Giddens and Habermas, because that will take in itself one full lecture. But in late 1980s, the new conceptual paradigm emerged, and particularly the theorist Wallerstein, Emmanuel Wallerstein, who is also one of the important sociologists in the sociology of development. He says he has given theory of word system, and he says that world capitalist system is in crisis, and to resolve this crisis uh, there are certain changes in capitalist system, and this we can say beginning of the theory of globalization, which we can see in the theory of world system or world capitalist system discussed by the Wallerstein. And Herbert Marcuse, another neo-Marxist, was also of the same view that we have entered into different kind of capitalism, that what he calls corporate capitalism. And he says that now conflict between the rich and poor countries rather than the rich class and the poor class within a country. So with these backgrounds, we see that the globalization along with privatization and liberalization emerged on the scenario, and the downfall of the communist bloc in Europe and Soviet Union are have given rise to the process of globalization all over the world. And this particular model, which emphasize on neoliberal economy, market economy and privatization. So, and this give rise to a global economy which is very different in nature, and which is part of the process of globalization. But process of globalization is not just confined to economy. It can be seen in every sphere of our life, in political system, in education, in cultural system, in communication system. Everywhere we see now we are operating at the global level. The hyper-globalizers who conceptually say that modernity is over, and skeptics who says that the modernity there is modernity is also not over, but they say that there is no globalization. So again, Giddens argued that modernity is not over as a result of globalization, but it is transforming itself into a higher stage, and he calls it higher modernity, high modernity. Then a number of other sociologists also joined the debate, like Ulrich Beck, who talks about the risk society, Zygmunt Bauman, he talks of liquid modernity, Manuel Castells, who talks of the network society. And in today's presentation, I will focus on Manuel Castells, what is his notion of network society and how it is relevant in today's situation. So before I come to that, I would like what are the basic concepts of Manuel Castells, who talks of the transformation of the modern society into a new form of society. he says that we are now two terms he has used. One is informational society and the other is network society. And these two are interrelated. What is informational society? He make a distinction between information society and informational society. And he says sometimes there is a confusion between these two terms, information society and informational society. Information society emphasizes on the role of information in society. Means that information play an important role in society, and in this sense in every society, even in a traditional society, in a tribal society, information has to play an important role. So in this sense, but informational society is very different from this, and he says that informational society is different because the term informational indicate to attributes of a specific form of the social organization. It means society is now transforming or taking a shape of a different type of social organization, and in this social organization in which information generation, information processing and information transmission become the fundamental sources of productivity and power. The production and power relations are the are produced through the social organization which depend on the information generation, information processing and information transmission. So information is part of the social organization of the society, that is informational society. For example, any economic activity, whether we are making a transaction in the bank or we are purchasing anything from the online or we are making any transaction anywhere, immediately it is supported by information. We get SMS or message that you have done this transaction. If any online shopping process, if you are receiving a particular delivery on a particular day, you will get message in advance. So this economy or social organization of activities in different spheres of the society are driven by the information services. So information services are the integral part of the social organization in informational society. So this is what new communication technologies are conditioning the society in this particular historical period. So the economy we do have today is informational economy, and one of the key features of the informational society is the networking logic of its basic structure. The informational society work or operate on networking logic. So those who are the student of sociology, they know that there is a difference between the social structure and social network. Social network can be extended anywhere. It has no space bounding. It is not bounded with the space, because network can be extended beyond the community, beyond the society, beyond the place. So basic structure of the society which is now emerging, it operates on the logic of networking, and which explain the use of the concept of the network society. So that's why the logic of the present informational society is based on networking, and therefore it is also called a network society. So we are today living in an informational society which is gradually emerging, or we can say a kind of new society, network society or informational society is emerging as a process of transformation. So there are three important processes in this network society or the informational society. The first is in the relations of the production. Socially and technically, there are changes in the relations of production. New brand of capitalism is emerging, and the capitalism which is emerging as a result of these changes is called informational capitalism. It is not that capitalism which are industrial capitalism which was part of the modern society earlier, but now we are entered into a new stage that is called informational capitalism, and it has some new characteristics of the production processes of labor and as well as of capital, and also it is transforming the class relationships. So I am not going in detail, but in crux, what is important here, for example, if we take the example of labor, there are two type of labors. One is generic labor and other is self programmable labor. Earlier in this industrial society, we were has generic labor who were having some skills, and they were the tasks were assigned to them, but they were not able to reprogram their capabilities. If that skill is not required, they will become unemployed. But in today's informational society, the worker or the labor is self programmable labor because they are educated. And now you see that we are talking of the knowledge workers or those who are working in BPOs or call center. They are highly educated workers. They can redefine and learn new skills, and they can program can be changed, and they can adjust in the new situation. In this sense, we can say that the nature of the labor is also changed in informational society. The capital is also liquidated. Earlier, it was not moving from one country to the another country, but in the global economy, we can see that there is a mobility of the capital from one country to other country, and the investment is global and taking over of different industries by or companies. It is a very normal phenomenon. So capital is now movable. The technology is also movable, mobile. The labor is not generic but programmable. So these transformation has created a new situation which we can see in the form of the global financial markets which operates 24/7, and the production process is also we can see can be moved from one place to another place, and today we are now seeing that most of the companies of western society, they are thinking of moving from China, and they are looking for new destinations. So this is how this global economy perform, and they will see that how they can make profit if they think that they are not getting profit, or if they are not satisfied, they can move immediately from one place, from one country to the another country. So this is the nature of today's global economy, and which has implication for the future society that I will discuss in my last part. There are two important processes in informational society or network society, and these are related to the concept of space and time. Castells develops this concept of space in relation to cities, and in 1991 he has written one very important work which later on became the basis of his conceptualization, and that was the informational city. And he says that modern cities, which are global cities, they are basically informational cities. And uh, whilst the organizations are located in places in earlier societies and their components are place dependent, the organization of the modern society were located in places and their components were also place dependent. It means place and organization were interrelated, very close to each other. We cannot think of organization without place. But organization logic is placeless and being fundamentally dependent on space of flows. So in informational society, the organizational logic is placeless. Place is not much important, and what is important, that is space of flows. This is a new concept he has given, space of flows, because there is a flow of information, flow of people, flow of the goods, flow of the ideas, and how they move through certain networks, and that characterizes the information network. So what is important in this informational society? The information network. And informational network is spaceless because it passes through the circuit of electronic exchanges. So place is not important in this because networking can be done as we are doing networking in this seminar. So place is not important where you are located, but what is important, that is the connectivity. If connectivity is lost, electronic exchange is lost in the circuit, then you say sir आवाज़ नहीं सुनाई दे रही है आपकी, अब तो पिक्चर भी नहीं दिखाई दे रही. So what is important? This electronic exchange is important, and that is placeless. So this is the space of flows, how the information is flowing, that is important. And if this connectivity is lost, every activity in society, in any organization, will be hampered. For example, if there is no server is down in a bank, they cannot make any transaction, although all employees are well placed in the bank, they are present there, but they are not able to work because there is no connectivity in the system. There are three important characteristics of this space of flows. One is circuit of electronic exchanges, which make possible the global communication and technological infrastructure that enables real-time interaction across the globe. So real-time interaction, that we are assembled we are located in different places, but we are interacting, that is in real time with each other. So it is because of this circuit of electronic exchange, and digital technologies are supported by high speed transportation facilities, that is mobility of goods, people and ideas. So apart from this electronic exchange connectivity, another important thing is the high speed transportation system. And you see that this type of the material structure has been created in last 4-5 decades, which facilitated the process of globalization or operation of the global economy. That is, the material conditions have been created through the high speed transformation. And when we talk of the high speed trains, bullet trains or other high speed trains, or we talk of the expressways, dedicated lines of railway for transportation, I think this is the part of this particular global economy or the informational society in which we are moving today. The second important characteristic of this informational economy or space of flows is the way in which the space of flows produces a distributed network which clusters around the nodes and hubs. There are a number of hubs and the nodes, and nodes means the centers which provide multiple services, and they provide these services and they also consume these services, and these hubs, or you can say nodes, are global cities. For example, Bangalore, Chennai, our metropolitan Delhi also, and Gurgaon, although is a very small place, but it is now a hub of most of the IT industries. In Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Bangalore, we have hubs, and these are the places which we call nodes, and they provide all kind of services, not only within the country but throughout the world. In lot of IT services, even the United Kingdom's railway inquiry services are provided by Indian company sitting in Hyderabad. They are providing customer care services to the British Railways. Similarly, in medical field, the Indian professionals, doctors, they are preparing the medical reports of the United States hospitals sitting in India. So these are the things which are happening today. Similarly, academic and knowledge centers are the milieux of innovation. The important these universities and the academic and research institutes are also important nodes in this connection. And third characteristics is the how network nodes represent places where people meet and elites constitute themselves. So these are the important centers. That everyone wants to go Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, because without visiting that place, the you cannot do your business. Second important concept which I would like to discuss here is the timeless time. First is the space of flows, and second is timeless time. This is very important if we look into that. Time equates to the sequence in which events happen. Time is that sequence of events, and there is a sequence, and in that sequence, that is time. And historically, uh, it is determined by the ways how this sequence is ordered constitute the social character of time. How we constitute, how we